All right, welcome everyone to 2024 Save Barnegat Bay Student Grant Open House. For those of you who are familiar with our program, we have changed the name slightly, which occurs to me now that I didn't change this slide. But we are trying to change the name a little bit around so that it shows newer students that it's actually a research experience and that it's not just grant program, but you actually get job experience and you get connections in the field of science and research in New Jersey. So we'll go over all of the great things about our program. Save Barnegat Bay has been around for 53 years doing grassroots organizing, advocacy, and education. And back in 2007, this program began as a way to compensate undergraduate students and keep their amazing talents and knowledge doing great work in science in Barnegat Bay. So this is the little flyer I threw in there of this year's program. Hopefully that's what you've seen to get here in the first place. So again, you are going to earn money through this program that is yours to keep. We'll go over that later. You can earn college credit, which of course some of our current committee members have earned college credit as a part of this program. And you obviously gain professional experience, research experience, all that great stuff that goes on your resume. And even though resumes are not the most important thing, of course, people are concerned about them, but even better than that, you get the real experience. So you're here at the open house. Thank you so much. It's January 9th. And we have another event coming up a month from now on February 9th, where we are going to invite you to listen to our outreach coordinator here at Save Barnegat Bay. He's going to go over how to communicate science to the general public and to people that don't study science all the time for two reasons. One, because we want to encourage more people to learn about our student grant program. But of course, we also want to empower past, current, and future student grant awardees to have the words that make their presentation make more sense to the public. So if we are recording, we're going to record this session. We hope that people come live, but we also hope that this will be a resource moving forward. So I do want to flag this so that if you end up becoming an awardee this year, that you go back and watch this presentation before you do your final presentation to the public. So we are trying to provide tools for that, which again, we'll go over more of that later. The deadline to apply this year is going to be March 22nd, 2024 at 5 p.m. And we hope that you read over the application and send us any questions you might have. We kind of went over this already, but if you would like to drop the name of the school you're attending in the chat, it helps us keep track of all the amazing students with our program. So thank you so much for coming from all over. Just as a note, if you are watching this recording afterward, there is no limitation for the school you can be attending to be a part of this program. If you are located in the Jersey Shore area in the summer or can get here for the summer, you can attend any undergraduate institution or be a graduating high school senior enrolled in your future moving four-year university. So quickly, what we're going to go over is what is the program to begin with. This QR code is inaccurate. The link on this is the correct thing, tinyurl.com 2024 student grant apply. So that needs to be updated. Who can apply? We kind of went over that last slide, but undergraduate students and future going undergraduate students, as well as seniors in their undergraduate career, are still applicable to apply. What the grant money means, important dates to mark down in your calendar to make sure that if you do apply and do get accepted, that you can in fact make it to all of the events that we have outlined. What's the difference between an independent project and a team project? How can you get school credit? What does it mean to have a mentor or an advisor? Experience from past awardees. Hopefully we have a few people stick on for that. And what some of the last past projects looked like. So I kind of alluded to this in the beginning. There was a gentleman named Pete McLean who was so much of a wonderful influence in the Barnegat Bay arena of environmental science, environmental education. He was wanting to keep, again, the amazing science and local students here in the Bay able to do research and work here. So in 2007, it was a part of his dream to have the student grant program be born. And he has since passed, but his legacy lives on through this program and others, where we hope to continue empowering students to pursue their love of Barnegat Bay. So what is the student grant program? It's college students are mentored throughout the summer as you conduct research. So what is a research project? I think that word can be used a little bit loosely in the world of academics. In this case, it means you're going to produce an academic paper, poster, and oral presentation. You're going to have collect data. You're going to have to analyze that data. You're going to then be able to produce results, and then from there have a discussion about those results. And then you're going to have to communicate your methods, an introduction. If this is hopefully sounding familiar to you, this is basically the scientific method. So the idea is that you're conducting a science experiment within the Barnegat Bay watershed, or a scope that includes Barnegat Bay. So a lot of people, I fear, look at this program and think that it only has to do with the water itself of the Barnegat Bay, but the watershed is all the land that drains into the bay. And so the watershed is impacted greatly by lots of different elements and things. So to be eligible for this project, you don't necessarily have to be looking at something in the bay. You can propose a research question that has to do with something that is throughout the watershed, which could be as far west as Six Flags Great Adventure, or as far south as Great Bay Boulevard. So I think there's a lot more room for interpretation, whereas most of our applications come in and they have to do with very specifically the bay water. So it would be great to see more projects that have to do with back into the watershed. Who can apply? Some of these folks are here today, and all of them have been past participants of our program. Seniors in high school, undergraduate students, and undergraduate students graduating this May. So basically anybody who wants to pursue research in Barnegat Bay and is enrolled in a college. This is a grant program, and the reason that we can do this is because according to the IRS, you are getting an award as a student. And I put a little graduation cap on Rory because he did earn college credit for being a part of this program. And we're going to pop oh, hi, John. We're going to pop over to him in a moment to ask him about his experience getting credit for the program. I expanded this and now I can't. Hold on. Okay. So what is the grant? The grant is money that goes in your pocket. It's an academic grant. Again, I kind of talked about that last slide. The money can be spent on whatever the student decides you need to spend it on. Gas, books, tuition, sports, other things, whatever. That is what the money is there for you to spend it on. You do not receive the full grant until the end of the program, but we do send you a few dollars to begin with, a few $100s to begin with, to kind of get you started if you need money for gas or transportation or what have you to get to the program. So the money being granted to you is not used to pay for research supplies and other things to do with the project itself. If there is a proposal that you make that requires research supplies in some way, access to a lab, access to expensive tools, what have you, we will try our very best, and we haven't failed yet, to pair you with local academic institutions such as MATES, which is the Marine Academy of Technology and Environmental Science based in Manahawkin, is high school. John Winnick teaches there and leads there, and has been an amazing resource for this program in getting us the supplies we need, but we also have connections at other local places that can help us get tools and things we need. So please don't feel like you need to spend this money on your project. You should not be spending this money on your project. If you apply for a team project, you get $1,000. If you apply for and that's $1,000 to each person as a part of that team project. And as an independent awardee, you're going to win $1,500 for your work. So again, you get advanced a few $100s at the beginning of the program. And then upon completion of the program, the committee approves all your work and says that you did everything you committed to, we send the remainder money to you. Yes, we went over that. All right. This is the bottleneck for every single applicant. It seems that we actually get in the door that says that they want to be a part of our program. Dates and availability is a really difficult thing because everyone is doing other things. I do want to make very clear, which I need to put in writing and make like 100 posts on social media for. This program is not a full-time position in any way, shape, or form. While it does require your focus and commitment and will require you to potentially work weird hours, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, it is not to say that you cannot accomplish having another internship or another job at the same time. So I want to make that clear, and maybe that's why we get fewer applicants over the time where I think I would get more applicants. It might be being perceived that it's something you have to fully commit to for your whole summer, and that's really not the case. People ask how much a commitment it is, and I think it really depends on the project you're applying for. So each project has a different way, shape, and form that the commitment exists, which we'll go over. So awardees are required to attend all of the dates listed and all of the activities, and failing to do so could result in reductions from the award. So I've been trying really hard to crack down on this because I think it's really a fairness thing if other students are able to make it and you're not. So it's important that you check these dates now. If something comes up, and we'll do our best to try to work with you, but it is really important that you try to make it to everything because it's critical for you and your teammates to present and be present as an awardee. So we're going to start accepting applications. Really, the application is already open, but formally February 1st is when the beginning of accepting applications is. If you're looking to apply for early application, there's a different set of deadlines, but most people really don't do that. Applications for the general everybody is March 22nd by 5 p.m. To Save Barnegat Bay, which the form was provided in a previous slide, so you can go back to it and see the link for that. On April 8th, we are going to notify awardees based on the committee's recommendation. Tentatively, in and around May 13th or that week or so, we try to have an orientation meeting in person in Toms River at the Eco Center where Save Barnegat Bay is based, so that we can get you to sign all the paperwork that we need you to sign so we can pay you, orient you to the staff and the expectations of you for the rest of the summer. Tentatively around July 8th, this date can change, but we have a midpoint presentation, which, to be clear, in some cases people will not have data for, but it is an opportunity for you to practice your oral presentation skills, review any journal entries, and submit any information you do have so that the committee can give you feedback so that when it does come time to submit your final presentation in August, it's more ready for everything to be smooth, clean, clear, and polished. So tentatively the week of August 9th, we try to plan events around everyone's topic matter. So we don't have all the student grant presentations on one day anymore. For instance, if you are a part of the water quality team, we will set up a presentation for you and your team to present to a municipality. That might be where you did all your water quality. So it might be their council meeting or their environmental commission meeting, because we want your work to be meaningful. And we've worked really hard for this program to not just be a resume builder, but also something that serves the community in a way that the information you're gaining and providing helps policymakers make better decisions. So we go over that in a minute, but your final presentation won't happen probably on the day of August 9th, but in and around that week. So what you need to do for us is when you apply and get accepted, you need to tell us immediately when you think you're going to be going back to school. Hopefully not that first week. But if you are, we need to make adjustments and make sure we can pull it all off. August 16th is the date that the final written research report will be due and the summary of your project. So once you do your final presentation, you really should have most of it done already, obviously. But for the final paper, it's basically the last polishing of perfect grammar, perfect images, and everything else gets submitted in your white paper as your final research paper submission. So independent projects that we've had in the past can look very different because it really depends on each year of applicants. So we've had Reclaim the Bay, a young man working alongside Reclaim the Bay, doing work to study the food that clams are eating. It's not Michael, Samantha, if you're curious. It's a different individual who is working on looking at the not just the food that clams are eating, but how they grow throughout the year in the summer months. We had a few times the bay nettle jellyfish project had some independent projects. And for this, we have a research paper rubric, which is provided for you on the form where you go to fill out your application, as well as what it means to have a mentor. So we will talk about that. If you're wanting to learn more about independent projects, what they look like, and what kind of student pursues this, you can find other videos on our YouTube channel, including this one of this student that was studying the sessile organisms and bioaccumulation, or that's not the right word, the biofouling of organisms on plastic material in an estuary habitat. And this person, I believe, was from Drexel. So they were working beneath another scientist, and they kind of did their own project on the side that allowed them to study what organisms were settling there and how much carbon they were able to sequester in that time of being settled there. So independent projects. You can either select from a pre-existing project, so that includes Reclaim the Bay, bay nettle positions. Bay nettle is not going to be as big of a thing because our jellyfish project is ending, and Reclaim the Bay, I need to get confirmation on them funding this again. So if you're looking for a pre-existing project idea, get in touch with me directly and we can discuss further. But an independent project is really more of a question you're asking yourself. So in this case, at the beginning of the meeting, we discussed some ideas of projects that don't exist, and you're kind of moving around the watershed as a young student, and you're asking questions about the environment around you, and how can we develop that question into a viable research project that can be completed in the constraints of the program, which again is from the end of May until the beginning of August. So it's a very short window relative to most research projects. So we do have to consider that when you're thinking about your question. If you're thinking of asking a question for the student grant project that has to do with winter weather here at the Jersey Shore, that would be completely inappropriate because the project exists between May and August, and that data could not be collected in that window. So again, we want you to be successful, but we also need it to fit within the parameters of the dates that the program exists. So you're going to need to secure a mentor or advisor at your home school. What does that mean? That means that someone at your home school, wherever you're going as an undergraduate student, needs to be able to be a resource to you to answer questions or guide you to resources and other things of that nature. That person doesn't necessarily have to do all of the work. Obviously, you need to do the work, but this person needs to be available to you so that you can, when you're, checking that your methods are the right methods, and when you're looking for past research projects to emulate and look at how they did their methods and their data collection, this person should be able to guide you. When you do collect your data and you're looking for the right statistical analysis, this person might be able to guide you to the correct statistical test to use. This person hopefully can look at your research paper and read it over for grammatical errors and things of that nature. So we really would like you to secure a mentor at home, at your home school, but we will also provide you with somebody throughout our committee as well, so that you're not floating around without guidance. So, but it's really important that you get someone from your home school, because the folks that are on our side are already mentoring people for the team project, which we'll talk about in a moment. You need to write a proposal, which if you open the application, there's a rubric, like I mentioned earlier, and there is a guideline for how to write a research proposal. So you need to show the committee that you're prepared to execute this project with sound methods within the time period that you're given, and come out with some kind of result to test your hypothesis and be able to analyze those results and have a meaningful discussion about them. And then all of that needs to be submitted by March 24th. So there's a difference between independent projects and team projects. Independent projects are really great for people like you, Michael, who are coming back again for a few different years that you've done this already and you're coming back for a bigger challenge, or if you have past research experience. If you don't have past research experience, this team project is especially a good fit for you because it allows you to come into the program in a place where you have more guidance, mentorship, and team members so that you can work with other people and have more structure. So we have 2 team projects that we'll be funding this year, including the Sedge Island Marine Conservation Zone and the Water Quality Project. Again, there's a YouTube link here. You can find this video on our YouTube channel, Save Barnegat Bay, and you can see another past team project that took place in the past years and see everyone presenting and all that good stuff. So, team projects. The Sedge Island Marine Conservation Zone, it's a mouthful, but it's physically located on the inside back of Island Beach State Park and the Barnegat Inlet. So if you look at a map, it's at the very end of Island Beach State Park on the west side in Barnegat Bay. And the way that they run sampling for this project is there's a 2-week heavy sampling window in July where you're out almost every day of the weekday, throwing the silos into the water and using a net to collect the animals, count them, measure them, and do basically biodiversity studies. So quantity, sex, and species. So you're doing that 2 weeks in mid-July. And then the time before that, you're prepping by doing past research on this project has been going on for many years. So you're looking at data from past years. And then after July, that last week of July, that first week of August, you're tightening up your data and coming up with results for what you found. So this project requires you to be out on a boat very early in the morning. It requires you to get wet, potentially fishy. You're not going to be covered in fish guts or anything, but you're definitely going to get your hands, you're going to be touching fish. The sampling location is inside of Island Beach State Park. So it is important that you can get there in a timely fashion, that you can get up on time, that you can carry and handle large equipment. You're not going to be asked to carry anything exceptionally heavy, but there is a big silo, and you can check that out on our YouTube channel, as well as at the beginning of this slideshow, there's a picture of that silo. You can see the team moving it around. It's like a big metal cylinder, and you're going to be sampling juvenile fish and invertebrates like blue crabs and shrimp and things. And it's a very cool project, but it does require you to be able to tolerate being out on a boat and getting up early and being out in the sun all day. But it is a very, very cool opportunity. This project focuses on looking at the diversity within the conservation zone, which is the only one in the state of New Jersey, Marine Conservation Zone. And so by looking at the animals in this area, you'll talk about with your team when we get started where you're going to be sampling. And in past years, they've done really cool kind of 0 or 1 surveys where they looked like in the zone and outside the zone and what they found in and what they found out and how they compare. They've looked at different habitat types, so looking at grass habitat versus sand habitat. It's really interesting to see over time what kinds of animals and populations are moving or being encouraged by the conservation zone, or even in some cases are thriving outside of the conservation zone as well. So really cool work. The Water Quality Project will look a little different this year based on the recommendation of Dr. John Winnick, who leads this team. The Water Quality Project is usually sampling in and around the same parameters. So generally looking at the basic things like salinity, pH, dissolved oxygen, turbidity. But in many cases with this program, we have also looked at bacteria colonies to see where different bodies of water might be harboring more or less bacteria at different times of the summer. So rainfall in our community greatly impacts the amount of bacteria we have in our local waterways. And so in what you're seeing here, this is an example of projects we've done over the past 3 years, where particularly the basin of the Toms River, which is from more or less downtown Toms River out to Barnegat Bay, we've been trying to figure out where the sources of pathogen pollution are. In this case, specifically where human poop is accidentally making its way into the estuary, which is, of course, not supposed to be happening. So with this project, the students have, over the years, been able to contribute to a very large body of science, restoration, and policy work, which has been fantastic. And this project generally requires you to be out sampling very early, twice a week. So usually they would do it on Mondays and Tuesdays. They come to the eco center, gather their supplies, go back out into the fields, collect the samples, bring them back to the lab here at the eco center, process the samples, and then usually reading the samples of what you process, which, we don't have to get into that, but basically you're setting up the experiment to then read the results a day or two later. So for this project, it requires early morning commitment once or twice a week, possibly 3 times a week, early morning or afternoon on the third day, because you might not have to get here super early for the reading day. But basically a few hours each of 3 days of the week, possibly 4, depending on weather events. Otherwise, you're probably going to have free time on the weekends or other days of the weekday if you have other jobs or commitments. You'll go over that with your mentor, John Winnick, at the time of getting accepted. But if you need very specific info on this, you can always reach out to me and we can talk about it if it'll fit with your schedule. Some other team projects, of course, last year we finished up, or this year we finished up our jellyfish project. It looks exactly the same as the other one. It just was that we were using the same water quality parameters to look at a different influence. So instead of looking at pathogen pollutions, we were looking at where nitrogen pollution might be impacting jellyfish populations. So I think if I know John and our goals at Save Barnegat Bay, these two kind of water quality teams are kind of merged because neither project is being funded independently anymore. And so depending on what students we get, what interest there is, and what needs there are in the community, we could be testing for these different parameters to, help the community find answers to things they need. So that will be determined by John at the time of the start of the program. I'm sure he already has lots of ideas. So these are just some of the tools that those students were using. The tool on the left is called a YSI. It's a really cool little computer that has a probe and you drop it in the water and it gives you all this great information. And then the great thing about our program is that you're able to take samples, which you see happening in the middle. And then once the samples are taken, you go back to the lab and potentially look at some of these parameters on the left again. So you can test again for dissolved oxygen. You can test again for, or you're going to continue testing for bacteria and nitrogen and other things that the YSI can't tell you. So this is kind of a little bit of a walkthrough of what the water quality team is doing out in the field. All right, so how to apply for a team project. You're going to select one of the team projects, which again, as a reminder, is the Sedge Island Marine Conservation Zone Biodiversity Study or water quality teams. You're going to secure an advisor at your college or home school. Again, this person should be someone who should be able to answer your questions if you have them and kind of back you up when needed for an application. So this person, John should, or Jason should be able to call this person and say, does this person show up on time? Does this person have the qualities needed to work on a team and effectively meet deadlines and all that great stuff? So make sure to choose someone that has worked with you a little bit and can answer questions if you have them. You're going to need to write a short essay. You do not need to submit a research question proposal because obviously the research question already exists. You don't have to be writing a whole new question and proposal because these projects have gone on for years and we generally know what the methods are. And what we expect to see, how we expect to see the results delivered. But what we do ask is that you convince us that you're a good candidate by writing a short essay based on the questions in the application. And again, the deadline's the same, submit by 5 p.m. On March 24th. If you're interested in seeing more projects like this, check out our YouTube channel. So, did I lose Rory or is he here?
I am still here. Can you guys hear me?
Rock star. Okay, you're up.
Sweet. So one of the great things about the grant program is you can actually get credits through college with the program. Now, there are a couple of things that you want to consider if you are going to get college credits through the program. The first one is be proactive. So especially with you, Samantha, you're still in the process of picking out schools. As soon as you do get accepted to a university, if you do intend to apply to this program and get school credit, I would definitely start that conversation with them. So that way you can get the credit rolling. Most colleges, like especially Stockton with me, would not take the school credit for the first time I did the program because it was a prior internship. So they will only take it if it's agreed upon before you begin the program. So for Michael, especially since you're already enrolled in college, if you plan on applying again, definitely reach out to your program chair. That way you can get that conversation going. With the school credit, couple of things to keep in mind. One, you are going to have to pay for those college credits. So Michael, since you're already enrolled, the school might try to put this down as a summer semester for you. I would definitely talk with them and see about moving the credits to your fall semester. So when I applied, I did the water quality team project, and Stockton University gave me 2 credits, and they want to charge me close to $2,000 to do the internship because they're going to charge you for the school credits. I was able to move that to the fall semester, and I had scholarship money that erased that. So if you're a student who is relying on financial aid or you have any type of scholarship, definitely if you plan on getting school credit through this program, talk about moving it to your fall semester. And I don't think that would be an issue. And in general too, like you can negotiate fees. Like they tried to charge me $50 for transportation and security, and I was able to get that dropped. So definitely get an itemized bill of what they're going to charge you for the credits. Typically when they look at school credit, they want to know how many hours you're going to be doing with the internship. I believe I had put down it was about 90 hours worth of work, so that's why I was able to get 2 credits. So definitely we can help you work out how many hours you'll be working and how many credits you can expect with that. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, if your school hasn't worked with Save Barnegat Bay before, this wasn't really an issue for me because Stockton's had a lot of students go through this program. They're probably going to want to know a little bit more about the program and who's involved so they can verify it as a good internship to do. So definitely get talking to your university early so that way they can get in touch with Save Barnegat Bay if we haven't cooperated with them before. And that way we can get all of the kinks rolled out and you can have a smooth transition with it. That being said, it does sound a bit like an extra headache, but I definitely recommend it because most universities these days are going to require you to do an internship anyway. So Michael and Samantha, this is a great way for you guys to get some college credits done with. And it was very helpful for me when I went and did the program the second time. I transferred from Ocean County College to Stockton, and it was right before my senior year I did this program. So it saved me from having to get an internship during the school semester and work with a professor then. So I definitely recommend it. It's just you really want to be proactive so that way you don't get overcharged for the credits, and that way everything's set up in time. And typically, too, when you do get school credit for an internship, you'll have some type of school advisor. So definitely make notes about like anything you do during the program, especially like on a weekly basis or any deliverables you may have. It varies by professor, but I know a student at school, they did some type of aquaculture internship. And when they came back in the fall, the professor asked for an itemized list week by week. So you definitely want to have that conversation so that way you're not like missing any hour logs they may have or stuff like that. I know for me, I had to just present like my findings and what I did during the research, and then they were able to give me a grade for it. So just some things to consider, but I definitely recommend getting school credit because if you're going to be doing the project anyway, this is a great way to get that school credit. And it's also a great way to put yourself on the map with professors because they are very impressed by these projects. When I applied for grad school, they specifically took an interest in my experience with the grant community or the grant committee. So definitely recommend
Ah, thank you, Rory, so much for sharing your experience. And as you're doing so, I'm thinking if you could write some of those bullets down for me, I can not only make this slide better, but I can also provide that information out to our social media to kind of push the idea out to our community and be like, hey, did you realize these are great ways to get credit? So if you would be so kind to do that for us, that would be so helpful.
Sure thing.
Thank you. And then if you're not here for some reason in future presentations, I will have that information in a very neat and clean way. So if you didn't get to write all that down, or first of all, this is being recorded and will be posted, but if you didn't get to write it all down and you have other specific questions, we can certainly put you in touch with Rory. via my email, which you'll see at the end, and get you specific questions answered. But we do advise you to reach out to your school ASAP, and your advisor there, they will be the best information on this. All right, so for mentors and advisors, again, it's an educator, preferably one familiar with scientific data analysis. So while your, humanities teachers might be excellent guides and mentors, I, highly encourage you to, foster those relationships with them. But as far as this mentor advisor from your homeschool, it really helps to have someone who has research experience, following the scientific method. So usually if someone's hired at a university, they have to be doing research to be there, which is kind of screwy, but that's kind of how the system works. So just ask them and say, are you doing research? And it doesn't necessarily have to be someone doing research of scientific research of the sciences. Find a better way to say that. There are people who do scientific research on behavior of humans and the science of science teaching, and they do scientific research on education in schools. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your conventional science teacher, but it does have to be someone that does research science. If you have any questions, let me know, but I can try to define that better, but I think I got it covered. So again, this person should be able to advise you through the scientific process. You must secure a mentor if you're an independent project candidate. Must. Team projects, we ask that you just have somebody on the other end who can speak on your behalf or vouch for you and be a person that you can reach out to once in a blue moon if needed. But generally, the independent project is the one that's really, really important. The student grant mentor duties are all outlined on the application. So, that's all the nitty gritty facts about our program. But as you've started to kind of hear from other students, Rory was a past applicant and recipient multiple years. Michael has been recipient multiple years. There's some really wonderful feedback we've gotten from students that this program has been a part of their academic career, but and has elevated their path and getting them access to grant or access to grad school and access to even future research projects. And in some cases, we learned over the years that some of the research that these students have worked on during the student grant program was carried forward and is getting peer reviewed in journals and things. So it's not just like whatever science that I did that summer, kind of forgotten. That's even beyond Save Barnegat Bay. And then within Save Barnegat Bay, we are constantly using the data that's collected from you all and helping policymakers locally, like mayors and council people, people who are doing restoration, people who are looking for ways to improve their community stormwater initiatives, to improve runoff, all of that. And all this work plays into that decision making. So it really matters. It really makes an impact on your community. And clearly, as a wonderful result, it has made an impact on these students. So we're proud of our program and we're proud of our students. And many of them have chosen to come back and dedicate their time to the committee. So a little shout out to our newer, younger members who have come around to give back their talents to make sure the students coming behind them have great guidance and resources as well and have a great experience. So we love them. Some past projects. So I just pulled up little photo albums to show you. This is the biodiversity study in the sedge zone on the back of Island Beach State Park. And there's just some really fun photos of baby fish and the silos. And this is mid-July, so it's like a gorgeous time to be in the water. You can see Jason being silly, jumping off the bow of the boat. The water out there is only a few feet deep, so in many cases, you're able to kind of walk around in the water because it's very shallow. And you're just out in the water, in the sunshine, checking out everything in the silos and measuring everything and recording that data. And you're working with each other to make sure all of the elements of the project are being are being collected and accurately completed. So that's the sedge project. And then, sorry, my thing is in the way.
Hi, I'm Katie Gunderman. I'm going to be a junior at the University of Delaware next year. This is my first time working with the Barnegat Bay student grant program. And I am working with seeing nest site productivity and if nesting female terrapins will come. That's their sorry. Okay.
So basically what I'm trying to show you is that there is, these are real students who really worked with our program, and they're imperfect just like everybody else, and they're learning in the program just like everyone else. And the program, we're really proud to have it be a place where people who've never had research experience can get research experience. So you don't have to have had it before. And so it's a really great place to practice your oral presentation skills and your research paper writing skills and your researching skills, like on the internet. Like, did you go into other research, other experiments like the one you're proposing and collect those papers, and what did other scientists do? You know, so all of this is a part of the program. And if you're curious to learn more about other projects that have been presented before, our YouTube channel right now is the best place to go. Our website is currently being remodeled, so a lot of our programs are kind of a little bit all over the place. So I recommend finding the student grant playlist in the Save Barnegat Bay YouTube channel for all of that information. All right, so it is time for you to ask questions if you have them about our work and the expectations program, whatever. My email is at the bottom here, education@savebarnegatbay.org. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And as a favor to us here at Save Barnegat Bay, we are about a month and change, almost 2 months out of the deadline for 2024. And we would love to see more faces at our program on February 9th and more faces in our application box. So if any of this information resonates with you, we ask you to share the flyer seen on the second slide of the presentation with your colleagues, friends, peers, professors, whoever, so that we can fill out the program with the most talented and most excited and passionate students. So with that, I'd love to ask if you have any questions.
So I had a question. I do have some experience with some of the things you said. Like in my internship last summer, I did do a lot of water. I had to do water quality every day, and then I had to measure the biodiversity in whatever location I was at every day. But I don't know if I don't know how to word this, because I know you did say that it is a good independent like research plate, like to start if you don't have any research experience. But what would you say you would recommend like for me as like a high school senior?
It's a great question. So I think it's not going to be a blanket answer because it really depends on the individual. So it's going to depend on your skill set and your strengths and weaknesses as a person more than even your skills. So what do I mean by that? Are you self-motivated? Are you organized? Are you able to complete the investigation that you might need to if you have questions about the work? Like, are you able to find answers to things without having a team to lean on and text immediately and be like, how do I do this? Oh, here's the answer. Are you going to be self-motivated enough to find the answers you might need and, answers to questions you might have? So I would say if you're already familiar with water quality and you feel like taking the water quality on a team would be kind of a review of something you've already experienced, then I would challenge you to apply for an independent project. If you feel like you still want to get a review on water quality procedures and you want to go back and be a part of a team of people that looks at something very specific and kind of, look into skills you might not have, like looking at bacteria cultures and things like that, then I would suggest applying for the team. So I think it really depends on your goals. It is customary for people to start with the team projects, but I don't see that as a mandatory thing. If you submitted a killer independent proposal as a senior student, I don't see why the committee would be opposed to it. So I would just evaluate your ability to write a research proposal. It doesn't have to be something you would have submitted to a grad school, but it does need to be something a little bit more advanced than a science fair project, if that makes sense. So it's kind of the next step. And so it really depends on your goals for the summer, your skill sets of like your actual technical skills of what kind of work you already know you can do in a lab or statistical analysis or, you know, using these kind of tools. But it also depends on your personality and your ability to be, you know, self-motivated and be able to solve problems on your own and, you know, have your own transportation and get to all of your sites and be able to map them out and then be able to analyze that data. And do you have a mentor at your home school that's going to be able to, and it can be your high school in this case, as that's where you have relationships. But, you know, do you have someone who can get you through the statistical analysis piece after you have all these results? Okay, great. What do they mean? And which pieces are significant or insignificant scientifically? So I know that's not a simple answer, but I think that is the right answer. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I think what I might do is I might research some possible independent projects and I'll like email you about it. And if those don't seem feasible, I think I'm really interested in like the fish ID and the measure of biodiversity. So yeah, thank you. That answered my question.
Great. And that's honestly, I'm glad you asked it because that's a question that others probably have when they're debating between the two. A lot of people have questions about that. That's like a very, because that's why I've made it into two slides because it is kind of weird when you get to the application, you're like, wait, what do I do? When, you know, so yes, that was a great question. Any other questions?
Well, this isn't so much a question, but my environmental science teacher and my marine biology teacher at my high school, I'm gonna send them the flyer you made because every year, like towards summer, they like show us all this stuff and they always have a bunch of students who are interested. So I think that should be able to get a couple more people for you.
Thank you, thank you. That would be fabulous. This is a little bit early in the season of people looking at summer opportunities, but I choose this time of year because college students are still on break. And so in hopes that they're kind of using the break time to look at their summer experience opportunities. I do expect to have a few more interested people as we get closer to that kind of March deadline when people are kind of being like, oh my gosh, all the internships for the summer deadlines are closing. So yeah, this is, you know, if you're watching this recorded, get to our form and I'll go back to it so that everyone can see it. Get back to our form so that you can get your application in. Well, it's not allowing me to change the screen. But yeah, I would love that. Please do share it. Share, share, share. Here, we'll go back to this screen so that people can see it again. This is like the mother flyer. This is everything a person would need to get involved in this year's program. So if you're watching this recorded, you can find this flyer on our social media. It's been posted multiple times. And hopefully you find us Save Barnegat Bay on Facebook and Instagram, and of course on YouTube. And this is how to apply. Any other questions? All right, if you're watching this recorded, thank you so much for sticking to the end. Please reach out to me, education@savebarnegatbay.org. We look forward to meeting all of our students for the 2024 season, and let's have another great summer.